Good afternoon, and thank you for attending today's Veterans Day concert. Would you please stand and face the flag as the national anthem will be played by the 204th Army Band.
Center, face, instruments.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Ready, face. Column right, march.
I welcome you today as Mayor Mary Fassbender on behalf of the City of Hastings. Happy Veterans Day to our soldiers, both present and past. We owe you our thanks. It's always been known any day is a good day to thank our veterans for his or her service. However, it's particularly important on Veterans Day. Veterans Day, we honor all courageous men and women who have fought for our freedom. Thank you for your patriotism, bravery, and service. You are true heroes. You have made our country a safer and more free place. Veterans Day is a time to reflect on their sacrifices that our veterans have made for our country. How do we thank a veteran? It would be hard to find the right words, but simply thanking them is well deserved. We are so fortunate to share today's event with listening to wonderful music. Music has been known to soothe our souls. Let's sit back and reflect and enjoy the music. At this time, I'd like to introduce Paul Ullman, the commander of the Hastings VFW 1210 post.
Thank you for coming. We're very honored that you're here. We want to thank the bands, both of them. And Alan, I'm sorry I woke you up in the middle of the night with a dumb question. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Please welcome Tom Mink, the director of the River Valley Band.
Thank you, and welcome this afternoon to this wonderful concert and honoring our veterans. And it's such a pleasure to be sharing the stage with the 204th Army Band that you'll hear a little bit later. The first work was a piece by Samuel Barber entitled Commando March. Mr. Barber was enlisted in the United States Army in 1943. He finished Commando March in 1943, and for the remainder of the rest of World War II, became one of the most performed marches during that time, kind of solidifying itself in kind of the cornerstone of marches in the wind literature. Our next selection is Hymn to the Fallen from the movie Saving Private Ryan. It's a memorial for all soldiers who sacrificed themselves on the altar of freedom in the Normandy invasion on June 6, 1944. Director Steven Spielberg wrote the following on John Williams' musical score. It's a piece of music and a testament of John Williams' sensitivity and brilliance. In my opinion, will stand the test of time and honor forever the fallen of this war and possibly of all wars. Hymn to the Fallen.
Where Never Lark or Eagle Flew is based on an inspiring poem, which is printed in your program, by an American pilot in World War II. Its dazzling brass sonorities and sweeping woodwind lines reflect the young man's love for flying and its release from the worlds of trouble. John Gillespie McGee, Jr., was 19 years old when he was killed in action on December 11, 1941. McGee was born in Shanghai, China, to an American father and a British mother, who both worked as Anglican monastery missionaries. He came to the United States for a visit, and due to the war, was unable to return to his family in Europe at that time. The U.S. had not entered the war, so McGee joined the Royal Canadian Air Force. A poem in a letter form to his parents shortly before his death has become a classic and an inspiration for our next composition.
1952 and 1953, NBC presented a documentary series about naval warfare entitled Victory at Sea. The series, which won an Emmy in 1954 as the Best Public Affairs Program, played an important part in establishing historic compilation documentaries as a viable television genre. The series was short-lived though, but Richard Rodgers' music continued on. The New Yorker magazine describes the music as seemingly endless creation, now martial, now tremendously moving. Rodgers' score captures the moods and variations of the war at sea in all its terror and beauty, and adds an emotional dimension which neither camera nor words quite portray. Three of the many pieces from this documentary series are contained in our arrangement, and they are Song of the High Seas, Guadalcanal March, and Hymn of Victory. Our final selection is a tone poem which portrays the mood, music, and events leading up to the American Civil War. It's a medley of tunes depicting daily life in the North and the South. We hear the rumblings of marching drums and the sounds of patriotic songs. After meditative reflection, the noise of the battle arrives and describes conflict. Finally, a new hope for perpetually united America arises from the ashes. Featured medleys in this selection are Listen to the Mockingbird, Dixie, Camp Down Races, John Brown's Body, Battle Cry of Freedom, Maryland, My Maryland, When Johnny Comes Marching Home, Just Before the Battle, Mother, Marching Through Georgia, Yellow Rose of Texas, and finally, the Battle Hymn of the Republic. I should also give you a fair warning of this, as the songs and the medleys overlapped each other and become more chaotic, and it builds to this incredible tumultuous sound, resulting in a shattering explosion of battle sounds. And it's about 4 minutes into the tune by our percussion section. Just want to warn you about that if you're sensitive to sounds. This is Jerry Billick's American Civil War Fantasy.
The United States Army Reserve, represented by the 88th Readiness Division, Major General Matthew Baker commanding, proudly presents the 204th Army Band. Throughout history, United States military bands have provided pageantry and fanfare for audiences worldwide. We hope you will enjoy being a part of this rich musical heritage and tradition. Please welcome the commander of the 204th Army Band, Chief Warrant Officer 2, Andrew Nelson. John Philip Sousa is America's March King. And by the way, something that you should know today is that it's his birthday. I'm sure he would appreciate the applause, being 168 years old. He got his start as the director of the United States Marine Band in what later became known as the President's own Marine Band, and composed a great many marches. The composition of the march that you just heard took place during a train ride and was witnessed by a member of Sousa's band. As the melody and harmonies were worked out in the auditorium of his mind, he was transfixed and unaware of anything else until the march was completed. Upon completion of the Invincible Eagle March, he thought it would be a serious contender to the Stars and Stripes forever. And while that did not prove to be the case, it did and was and remains a timeless masterpiece. Well, it's great to be here in Hastings this afternoon to celebrate Veterans Day weekend with you, a few days before Veterans Day, so thank you. We'll have a moment later on where we would like to honor the veterans in the auditorium, but that will be later in the program. Right now, what we'd like to do is acknowledge the fact that we have many guests with us playing today in the band, some alumni and some friends of the band. And there's such a long list that we have it printed on the slide, hopefully that's before you now. We want to thank you to thank all of our guests that are with us today. And while we're on the topic of introducing people, I'd like to take a moment and introduce to you our senior enlisted member of the 204th Army Band. He has overall responsibility for the enlisted members, and he works closely with our command team to ensure that the unit's mission is successful. Please welcome our First Sergeant, Ward Baxter. And also, we'd like to just make mention at this point that we have openings in all sections of the band, and if you've ever wondered what it would be like to play in a military band, we can answer that question for you. You get to see a taste of what it's like and what we do, but please come and talk to us. And if you say, well, I'm beyond military age, maybe you know somebody who is, maybe a son or a daughter or a grandson or a granddaughter. And we'd love it if you would just mention to them that there is a wide world of opportunity in music, and specifically in Army music. And we'd love to talk with them more and let them know what that's like. So please come and talk to us afterwards. Our next piece was written by Michael Sweeney, and it incorporates the well-known Civil War song, When Johnny Comes Marching Home, along with another popular patriotic song of the Civil War era by the title of The Battle Cry of Freedom. Both of these would no doubt have reached the president's ears while he fought voraciously for the abolition of slavery and ultimately proved victorious in his efforts. So great and impactful was his contribution to making America, in part, the land of the free, that 57 years after his assassination, Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, was honored with a permanent memorial in Washington, D.C. that bears his name, the Lincoln Memorial, honoring the man and the legacy that made an indelible mark on the fabric of this nation. A man who stood up for what was right, who recognized and valued each and every human life. Abraham Lincoln lived and died to secure these fundamental rights. And in the years since, the members of our armed forces have also served to do the same. And some have also given their ultimate sacrifice. In part, when they do this, they are living out Lincoln's legacy. Hang on, there we go. If we could ask for the house lights to come up, it's a great time for us to see our audience, because we want you to participate with us in this next portion of the concert. With great respect for those currently serving our country, veterans and their families, we now perform a medley containing the theme song from each branch of the United States Armed Forces. We would like to recognize each of you who have served or are presently serving in any branch of our military, and we invite you to please stand while the theme from your branch of service is played. Ladies and gentlemen, please join Chief Warrant Officer II Andrew Nelson and the 204th Army Band as we proudly present our Armed Forces Salute. We begin with the United States Coast Guard.
We're always ready for the call. We place our trust in Thee. Through surf and storm and howling gale, I shall on purpose be. Semper Paratus is our guide, our fame and glory true. To fight, to save or fight, and die, I postcard we are for you.
States, the United States Air Force.
Off we go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun. Here they come, zooming to meet our thunder. Atom boys, give her the gun. Down we dive, starting our flame from under. Off with one hell of a roar. We live in flame, we'll go down in flame. Hey, nothing can stop the U.S. Air Force.
The United States Navy.
Anchors away, my boys, anchors away. Farewell to foreign shores, we sail at break of day. Hey, 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 to our last night on shore, drink to the foam, until we meet once more. Here's wishing you a happy voyage home.
The United States Marine Corps.
From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we will fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marines.
The United States Army.
First to fight for the right and to build the nation's might, and the army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting rolling along. Then it's hi, hi, hey, the army's on its way. Count off the kids loud and strong. For wherever we go, you will always know that the army was rolling along.
What a great group of veterans. If we could have you all stand from all 5 of the branches. We had people here from almost all 5 of them. But if you were in the Air Force, Navy, Marine Corps, or Army, could you stand as one group and let us honor you? Thank you for your service. We salute you. We're going to invite the Hastings River Valley Band to join with us on stage at this time. What a privilege it's been for us to have these collaborative efforts. Feel free to come on stage while I'm talking. It's wonderful to have these collaborative efforts. This is really how music is propagated throughout culture. It stays in the community. We teach our children at the elementary school. We try and keep them in interest in music in the middle school and in the high school, and we encourage them to go off and stay involved in the community groups all around, and they're everywhere in the country. And then we want them to participate with us at times like these so that you can see that music is a language that's universal and transcends boundaries. It's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. So we so enjoy getting to play with such fine groups as the Hastings River City Band. Big round of applause for them, and thank you for their efforts to secure this location for us. What a beautiful venue it is to play here at Hastings High School. Well, now we come to the part of our concert, hopefully, as things are, it's a lot of people to put on one stage, isn't it? But it's pretty cool. Wait till you hear what's next. In honor of this great country, we want to talk about its beauty. And I want you for just a moment to stop and think through the incredible beauty that this country has to offer. It's a great country. How many of you have had a chance to travel around and see some of the beauty outside of this area? It's amazing. And I'll tell you what, right here on the Mississippi River, it's quite beautiful as well. But if you've had the opportunity to go out, say, east of here, or west of here, excuse me, I had to get my geography right. I grew up in Oregon. So what I'm about to mention is actually east of where I grew up. But if you've had a chance to go west to the state of Colorado, you ever heard of Pikes Peak? Part of the Rocky Mountains. Do you know that at a certain distance, if you're just far enough away at the right time of day, that peak looks purple? It's absolutely incredible and majestic. Maybe you've driven through the vast wheat fields and taken in the amber waves of grain that are nestled under the incredible and beautiful spacious skies. Well, when we behold such things as this, we want to remember them. And back in 1893, people didn't have cell phones and handheld cameras to take pictures. So one of the best ways to remember something so spectacular was to put it down in writing. Some did this in the form of a diary or a journal, and others did it through poetry, which is exactly what Catherine Lee Bates did when she wrote her now famous poem that has been put to music, America the Beautiful. You'll have a cue at just the right time to join along with the band and sing along a tribute to this great country.
my good with brotherhood. From sea to shining sea.
Thank you to Mr. Tom Make. Well, in honor of the man who would have turned 168 years old today, John Philip Sousa, the March King. A little bit more about his story. Of course, he became the March King right at the turn of the 20th century. His band at that time performed extensive tours across the entire United States and countries overseas. This piece that you're about to hear, with which we will close the concert, was written in 1896 following his return home from Europe. Sousa explained that the themes and the melody began to play endlessly in his mind throughout the entire voyage home. The composition is now known the world over and considered to be his greatest. Ladies and gentlemen, we are proud to present to you John Philip Sousa's The National March of the United States, The Stars and Stripes Forever.